In this video, our SAP Analytics Cloud product experts will demonstrate the main features of our new release. Feel free to jump straight to the features you're interested in by using the timestamps in the description below. Let's dive in and hear from our SAP Analytics Cloud product experts.
Hi, welcome to the SAP Analytics Cloud. My name is Marwan Fashishi and I am the product manager for the new SAP Analytics Cloud home screen. So today I'm super happy and thrilled to present the new home screen experience. So let's get started. So we have updated our overall look and feel. We have also added new features and more customization options. A total of 5 new cards are being introduced to the home screen. Let's take a closer look at them. The onboarding card provides a brand new onboarding experience. It includes links to helpful tutorials and learning courses, so you can get up to speed with the product in no time. The card also comes with a search bar where you can type in questions you might have directly, which will lead you to our help documentation with the most fitting results for your query. The next card that I would like to introduce is the Quick Actions card. It lets you select up to 4 quick actions from a broad selection to add to your home screen. From the 3 dots, you can click Edit Quick Action, and then you can select up to quick action available in SAC and then click OK. For example, if I'm used to create a story in my daily use of SAC as a task or create a model, so then I can set it as a quick action. And by clicking, for example, create a canvas, so then I will be redirected directly to the story and to my canvas. So let's go back now to the home screen. What's also new is that Just Ask Now comes as a card with an advanced search bar powered by generative AI. It lets you initiate research from the home screen using natural language. Not only does it let you enter your search, but also lets you refine it by selecting your data and adding attributes. The Just Ask feature then opens and pre-populates your search from the card with the result. For example, if I want to write sales by product category, then I would be redirected to the Just Ask application, and then I can drill down further and I can select even more dimension or even edit my query. So let's go back now to the home screen. To help you explore our community, see upcoming updates, and learn more about making the most of your SAP solutions, we have created the resource card. This card provides quick and easy access to various types of information about the product you can find. You can find everything from a sample story to business content, release updates, and more. For example, if I'm interested to see the roadmap explorer of SAC, so then I need just to click, and then I will be redirected directly to the SAC roadmap. So let's go back now to our new home screen and keep exploring. The final card that I would like to introduce is the favorite card. It displays files you have favorited and allows you to filter them. For example, now with the favorite card, you are allowed also to see your favorite folder, which was not possible via the favorite tab. So now I can also filter to which content that I want to see. For example, I am interested only to see my favorite folder. So then the card will be filtered only to the folder. You can find the filter settings, as I said, in the card submenu. The dialog lets you filter, depends on the file type that you want. You can even select multiple filters by card. Besides all of our new cards that I was presenting, we have also improved and revamped some of our existing cards, which are the calendar highlight that we see here, the recent file, featured file, this card here, and also the data change inside. The cards allow all the cards comes with a search functions and improved filtering experience, and also new capabilities. So you can display and find the information you are looking for easily. For example, from the recent files, I can also select different filters. For example, I'm interested only to see my latest stories and models, and then press OK. Then I will see only the story, my recent story, and my recent models. As a final step, let's explore the customization possibilities provided with the new experience. All of our cards are positionable, and the card layout is responsive. If you decide to reposition a card, all the other cards will adjust accordingly. For example, if I want to take the Just Ask card and put it in the top, so everything will be readjusted. For further customization, you can also open the home screen settings dialog. It's still available via the user profile. However, for quicker access, we have added a customized button here on the top right to area of your home screen. From this button, you can show and hide easily the available card into your canvas by just hiding or showing. So then I press OK. So then I hide my cards. So let's maybe hide them. Let's show them again. Sorry. Then I will have my home screen back. So let's wrap it up. This was our demo for the new home screen. I hope it was really useful, and I see you for the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.
A new AI feature this quarter is AI-assisted calculations for the calculations dialog, designed to accelerate and enhance users' data analysis. In this example, I have received an insight from a colleague, which includes calculations that I would like to understand further. To do this, I use AI-assisted calculations, which gives me a clear explanation of the formula's content, and I can then update the description with this new information. This new calculation looks complex, so again, let's use the AI-assisted calculations to explain it. With a simple click, AI-assisted calculations not only explains the formula's content, but also understands its business purpose with terms like positive sentiment keywords and calculates a score. Next, I'm reviewing the financial data from 2024, including actual and budget figures for various metrics across different locations. I need to perform some calculations to analyse this data further. AI-assisted calculations enables me to generate the formulas I need using natural business language, in this case, gross margin ratio. It intuitively identifies the measures from my model needed to calculate the gross margin ratio, requiring no further input from me. Next, I want to highlight any significant deviations from our budget. We describe again in natural language what we want, hit generate, and our AI assistant returns the relevant calculation. And if I want to add further detail to this calculation, I simply type in the additional criteria, such as deviations by region and percentage, and the calculation is modified accordingly. AI-assisted calculations streamline your workflows, elevating your data analysis journey.
Hello, my name is Bettina Denonville. I'm Product Manager for Data Analyzer, and in the next minutes I'll present you the new innovations as part of the QRC Q3 release. One new innovation is that administrators are now enabled to give Data Analyzer users read-only permission. Within the user role definition for object type Data Analyzer, two more permissions are exposed: the create and the read permission, in addition to the already existing execute. Users with read permission cannot create any more new analysis using the model browser provided on the landing page and within the Data Analyzer toolbar. That means the tiles on the landing page as well as the action button in the Data Analyzer toolbar are removed. These users can still open Data Analyzer from a story, can still open private insights, shortcut links, and shared public insights and shared shortcut links. Note, the individual rights for these users to save private insights is still decoupled from these enhancements and controlled by the privilege private insight. The next innovation is that a story creator can now add a hyperlink on a story chart visualization to enable the end user to jump to a Data Analyzer insight. There is a configuration option to open Data Analyzer in New tab or in Story Overlay, automatically if this option, New tab, is disabled. There is an additional configuration option to apply the filter context. You can choose whether only the selected dimension should be applied, or if all filters that impact the visualization should be applied when opening Data Analyzer. The hyperlink can be added on chart header, chart footer, and the data point selection. Now I'm going to jump to the live demo. This is my sales analysis dashboard in story design time. And as you can see, I already added a hyperlink here on chart footer and also here on the data point selection. And now I want to show you how to add a new hyperlink here on the table title. So first I type in a name. And now I add a hyperlink. And here in the hyperlink panel, I can choose Data Analyzer as a jump target. I can browse for an insight. I pick this one. I want to open the insight in overlay, so I do not tick this open in new tab. And I want to apply the filter context. So here on the title level, only all filters that impact the visualization is available as an option. So now the hyperlink is created and I can save my story. Before I open this story in view time, I want to jump to the role definition in order to show you the new privileges. Here you see the role definition of the PM demo user role. This user has read-only rights. Removing the execute rights automatically removes the read rights. And without execute at all, Data Analyzer disappears from the site navigation bar. Execute implies at a minimum read rights. And create rights implies automatically read and execute rights. So this user has read rights, and in addition, as you can see, this user is allowed to save private insights. So this user can save and pin, for example, his own exploration views to the story widget. Now I will launch the sales dashboard in the role of this PM demo user. Now I logged on as a PM demo viewer. And as you can see on the landing page, the tiles are not available to create new analysis. Now I open this sales dashboard. And here you see the different hyperlinks. I want to open Data Analyzer here with the data point selection. So I pick these three and jump from here to explore the data point in more detail in the Data Analyzer table. You see that these 3 countries are filtered as well as these 2 months, January and March. From here, I can do further analysis. Let's say I drill deeper into this distribution channel of Germany and want to see it by product. And when I'm done, I can save and pin this exploration view to the widget. You see in that public folder, if I give it a try, I'm asked to overwrite a hyperlink, but as you can see, it's not possible. So this is only possible when I save my own exploration view under my files as a private insight. So going back to the story, you'll find my own exploration view here added to the context menu. So that's it from my side for today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hi, my name's Scott Godfrey, and I'm one of the product managers with SAP Analytics Cloud. And I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes walking you through some new enhancements we have in the modeling and planning area. And we're going to start with a new enhancement which allows you to view model data privacy filters directly from within the modeler. So if you have access to the model defined and assigned to the roles themselves, you can now view that directly within the modeler rather than having to navigate to the individual roles to see that detail. Now within that screen, you'll see whether a given role has full access, limited access, or no access. If there's limited access, you'll have the ability to see the details that will show the specific read-write access for that given role. In order to view these model data privacy filters from within the model, you will need to belong to a role that has read-writes on the role right itself. So with that, let's jump over and see this in action. So we'll just take a quick look at this role PR2 that I have, and this reflects a specific role assignment for this model, write access to a given entity and product, and read access to all entities. Now if we navigate over to this XPA security role model, and we go to our model preferences, under access and privacy, you'll see that we have a new button here. The new button allows us to view model data privacy settings. When we click that, we now see the given roles in the tenant and what rights they have. So in this case, it's PR2. If I click on this, I can see the detailed assignments for that given role. With this release, we're also introducing some new exception aggregation types in the model. So these exception aggregation types will apply only to non-calculated counts or measures, so base measures, for example. And specifically, we'll introduce exception aggregation types for first, last, or average exception aggregation, including unbooked members. Now, these exception aggregations will only support exception aggregation on a single dimension, especially for first and last, that typically is a date dimension. So the key difference between these exception aggregations and the ones that already exist is these ones will consider unbooked in the scope of the calculation. So if we're talking about first time aggregation, if the first period in the year, for example, does not have a value or is unbooked, then that will be the value for the aggregated time period. Similarly, for last including unbooked, if we look at period 12, if that has a value, then that's the full year value. If it does not, then the full year value is unbooked for that measure. So let's jump over and take a look at this in action. So in this model, we have 6 measures. 3 of them represent our new unbooked exception aggregation types, and the other 3 represent the existing behavior. Now, just note that, of course, this unbooked exception aggregation is only available for base measures, not for calculated measures. And it's only available on a single exception aggregation dimension. So first and last exception aggregation in particular typically use the date dimension. I've set all the measures here to use the exception aggregation date, just for simplicity. So let's jump over to our story, and we see that we have some data already available. Just refresh to change the sort order. And now I've got my pairs of measures lined up. So I have my first and my first unbooked. They have comparable data. You'll see in the first I have for February $100, and that represents the full year amount. Right? In first unbooked, I also have unbooked for January and 100 for February, and my full year amount for that measure is unbooked. Now, if I change the value in January to say 50, you'll now see that the first unbooked is 50. Similarly, for last, you'll see that I have 400, 500, 600 for May, June, July. I have 600 for the last, and for last unbooked, I have unbooked because I have no value in December. If I go and then change the value in December, put 100 there, then my full year value becomes 100. Now the current average behaves a little bit differently. You'll see that it actually changes its value depending on whether I have that value in period 12 for December. And that's because the existing average takes into consideration whether sibling measures are booked. So if sibling measures are booked, then it's considered a booked period. The new average, including unbooked, only considers values in the average measure. So in this case, I have 3,200 but the average considers all periods, 12 periods, to get 266, 67. Okay, so these are the new first, last, and average exception aggregation types, including unbooked, as part of our Q3 2025 QRC release. So in this release, we've introduced a new model formula for weighted average aggregation. So this will simplify scenarios where you want to calculate a weighted average aggregation. Now, previously you could accomplish this, but you would need additional measures, and it was a little bit challenging to support input enablement on that. So this simplifies scenarios, let's say where you have a quantity and a price, and you want to calculate sales, and you want that price member to reflect sort of average aggregated price as you look at consolidated sales. Now, this formula is supported on accounts or measures, and it will support input enablement at the leaf level. So let's jump over and take a look at this in action. So in this model, I have two base measures, a price measure and a quantity measure. And if we flip over and look at the calculations, I currently have two calculations. One is my sales, which has an inverse formula. And then I have another price measure, my unit price, which currently is just dividing the sales by the quantity. So this is how I would calculate the weighted average price before this new formula. So we're going to make a change to this formula, and we'll insert our new weighted average formula. And so that's WAVG, then the measure I want to calculate the weighting for, the weighted measure, and then any exception aggregation dimensions. In this case, date, entity, and product are my exception aggregation dimensions. All right, so I want to calculate the weighted average for the base price based on the quantity. So I'll save my model, and we can then flip over to the story, take a look at this calculation in action. So you'll see I have my quantity on the left, my new weighted average calculated measure, my sales, and then my base price measure. Now this new weighted measure is input enabled on the leaves. So I can go ahead and start entering unit prices for my different bike types. And you'll see that as I enter these prices, my weighted average price is changing based on the quantity sales and the individual prices that I'm defining for the various bikes. So again, this is the weighted average aggregation formula in the modeler, available with our Q3 2025 QRC release. In this release, we're introducing audit log threshold alerting. So specifically for the data change log, if you have data change log enabled for a given model, and the log itself hits a certain threshold that you can define, then individuals will be notified when that threshold is hit. So this should help minimize scenarios where inadvertently the log gets very large and the administrators are not aware of that. Now the threshold itself is configurable. It will default to 80%. Users can be notified either in-app or via email. You can configure which users will receive notifications. And then individual users can opt out of the notifications within their own profile settings if they choose to. So with that, let's jump over and take a look at this in the system. So to access the notification settings, I can go to the administration panel. And in administration, under notifications, if I scroll to the bottom, you'll see that I have a new section now for data change log notifications. And I have some default settings that I can obviously modify. So I can change the threshold, which is at 80%. I can change the notification types. And I can define the users that will receive notifications. For example, the model owner, users with full control to the model, or then individual users if I want to. Now I can switch over to my own profile so that if I was set up to receive notifications of the data change log, you'll see that now under email notifications, I have this toggle that I can change for data change log notifications. If I don't want to receive those notifications, I can obviously opt out of that and then save that in my profile. So this is the data change log threshold notifications available with our Q3 2025 QRC release. So in this section, I'm going to talk about some changes we have to input readiness and what it means for a couple of behaviors around validation rules and data access controls. So let's start first with validation rules. Now, in this release, we are introducing a new setting on the table that allows you to control how unbooked members behave. And specifically, this allows you to hide restricted unbooked data. So in other words, if you have dimensional combinations based on validation rules, you can use unbooked and this table setting to display only valid combinations based on the validation rules. So there are going to be 3 settings for this table configuration: no restrictions, which is the current behavior; hide unplannable unbooked data, which will restrict the display to only valid combinations; and show invalid booked data only. And just note that both for this and the data access controls that I'll talk about in a moment, both of these features are going to require the new table builder to be enabled. Now that is a segment elsewhere in this video, but if you go into the builder panel for an existing story, as of the Q3 release, you'll now have this ability to convert to the new builder panel. And that will be a prerequisite for you to leverage these new controls for unbooked data. Now, this setting also is going to apply to data access controls, but data access controls have additional behavioral changes here. So the first is that we now have proactive display for input enabled cells, even when the public version is not in edit mode. So when you start, even if you're not in edit mode, you'll have visual cues about what cells can be modified. The second thing that changes here is now disaggregation will respect write-enabled cells. So if you don't have write access to all the descendants, then the differential that you may enter at a parent, for example, will be proportionally distributed only to the write-enabled cells. And then finally, similar to validation rules, we have this table unbooked setting that will control what combinations of elements you can see based on DAC. And so specifically, this can control unbooked combination to display only write-enabled cells. So you would see booked cells that you have read or write access to, and then only write-enabled unbooked cells. Now, as I mentioned previously, to leverage this capability, you'll need to enable the new builder panel in the table. So with that, let's jump over and see these in action. So let's start by looking at the data access controls. And in this case, I have data access controls on my region dimension. And specifically, my user Lester has read access to Germany and Italy, and also North America, and has write access to the UK and the US. So if we now switch over to the story, and if I just refresh, you'll immediately see that now input enablement is respected. So I have some cells that are gray and other cells that are black. My unbooked is enabled for the rows for regions, so I see all regions, even though I don't see the data for all regions. And what we're going to do now is enable this new table setting to display data based on data security and hide unplannable unbooked data. Now, when we do that, we now see only the combination of cells that either are write enabled, whether they're booked or unbooked, and are read enabled and have a value. So you'll see in my scenario, for example, I have access to North America and write access to the USA. I also see the UK because that is write enabled for me, even though there's no value. Now, if I make a change at my North America total, what happens is it distributes the delta only to the US because that's the only member that I have write access to. So this is how input enablement now works with data access controls and that table setting. Okay, let's jump over and see this applied to validation rules. So if I switch back to my model, I look at the validation rules. We're going to focus specifically on this rule on North America. So in North America, I can plan to trading materials and cruise bikes. So let's navigate over to the story, and you'll notice right away that for North America, I now only see unassigned trading materials and cruise bikes, despite the fact that I have unbooked enabled for regions and for products. And you'll also notice that Canada and Mexico are read-only, and that has to do with the fact that we have these DAC rules in force. So I still have validations interacting with DAC here. As it pertains, of course, to the controlled display for validation rules, I have the same toggle here for display data based on data security. If I set that to no restrictions, then I now see all unbooked combinations. Only the valid combinations are available for data entry, but of course I see all the combinations. Whereas when I toggle this hide unplannable, unbooked data, I only see the valid input-enabled combinations for validation rules and data access controls. Just note that in the case of validation rules, I would also see booked invalid cells with this selection just for completeness. With this quarterly release, we've made some updates to our end user upload functionality. Specifically, we can now enforce a restriction that any data imported via the file upload will only post to leaf members, and records trying to post to nodes or consolidated members will be rejected. So this will be the default behavior for newly created end user upload jobs. You can selectively choose which dimensions and hierarchies you want to enforce the posting level restriction on. Previously created upload jobs will not enforce this restriction by default, so they will continue to allow posting to non-leaves unless this validation setting is specifically changed within those jobs. So with that, let's jump over and see this in the system. So I'm in the model, and I already have an upload job that I've defined. We're going to edit the settings of the upload job to take a look at our new validation settings for the hierarchy. Under the job settings, I have a validation settings tab and this conditional validation toggle. And when I enable that, I can choose the specific hierarchies per dimension that I want to enforce this posting level restriction on. So I've decided to enforce this on all primary hierarchies for each dimension. We'll flip over to the story now, and you'll see a sample of the file I'm going to upload on the right. There should be 3 records that I'm expecting to reject. So we'll go ahead and upload our file. And yes, we see that we actually have gotten a notification now that 3 records were rejected out of 11. Let's navigate over to the rejected records file. We see that one of the records is rejected because of master data, the account, and the other 2 are because they're non-leaf members.
This is Derek from Product Management. With this enhancement, we allow users to use AI to generate documentation from script and to generate advanced formula scripts from business comments. This enhancement is a premium AI feature from a commercialization perspective. Let's take a look at the demo. We are looking at an advanced formula script. Simply highlight the script and we can generate documentation using textual descriptions. For scripting, simply enter a business comment and have AI generate the script. As a user, you can choose to accept or reject the generated content. This content can be further refined by the end user as needed. This is Derek from Product Management. With this enhancement, we allow users to leverage generative AI to summarize and translate data point comments via the table and comment widget to provide better decision support. This enhancement is a premium AI feature from a commercialization perspective. Let's take a look at the demo. We will demonstrate our AI-assisted commenting capabilities. These new capabilities unlock the value of commentary information to improve decision-making and analysis. In this scenario, we are looking at travel expenses, where we see a large variance in our dashboard. We will open another story to review details. As my user language profile is set to Spanish, we see the long comment summarized in my application profile language, which makes the comment easy to understand. We will switch the language profile back to English and regenerate this summary. As many of our customers are multinational, we know our customers will appreciate this capability. Using AI-assisted commenting, we can also summarize comment threads. This is especially important where multiple stakeholders are providing their insights. Next, we use AI-assisted commenting to summarize comments along the hierarchy, which in this case is the United States and Germany. If comments were entered in other languages, it would be summarized and translated to the user's profile language. For the user that needs to author comments, we provide the ability to rephrase the comment with a simple click of a button. Rephrasing comments can often improve the quality and clarity of the comment for other reviewers. We have added a new comment that we will be reducing non-customer related travel next quarter. We will regenerate the AI comment summary for the All Cost Centers node. To further showcase our AI-assisted commenting capabilities, we look at the commenting widget, which would normally be integrated into our dashboard. The first widget shows the USA Cost Center, where we will summarize the thread, and the second widget shows the German Cost Center, where we will summarize the long comment, which is over 500 characters. With AI-assisted commentary, working with comments just got a whole lot easier and more fun.
Hi, this is Jenny from Product Management. This enhancement for Compass that I'm showing today will make life a lot easier for those of you who prefer to enter your driver assumptions as an absolute value offset or percentage from the current baseline. When you enter the mean and max value for driver performance, you will be able to indicate a relative value, and you can see here that a little info box will appear below as you type to inform you of the resulting absolute value using the same number formatting for your baseline. A cool feature here is also that once you're done and publish your scenario to show your colleagues what you have simulated, the relative range input will be automatically displayed as an absolute number so that it is immediately clear for everyone which values are being used in your assumption. If anyone creates a private scenario now from the public scenario, the driver assumptions will be displayed in the initial relative format again, so the information to the relative increase or decrease in value is not lost and can continue from here. Thank you for watching. See you next quarter.
Hello, this is Derek from Product Management. With this enhancement, we have made it easy to copy a data action step from one data action to another. We will copy the data action step in the first browser tab and paste it into another data action in the second browser tab. This enhancement makes it easier to modularize your data action design into components that are readily reusable. This is Derek from Product Management. As a story designer, I may want to enable users to be able to initiate a multi-action with the All Members option selected. The All Members selection minimizes member selection as it takes data access control permissions into consideration. For multi-actions, you can set the Allow All Members selection in data action steps and data locking steps. In the parameter details panel for these steps, the Allow All Members checkbox is disabled in the following conditions: if the level is set to leaf, if the cardinality is set to single, and if you are using a measure dimension and the data type is not set to any. Let's take a look at the demo. We are looking at a multi-action with a data action step. When we edit the parameter for product category, we see the All Members option selected. We can select the All Members selection as a default option. Looking at a story with this multi-action included, we can select the All Members as a fixed or default value. When we prompt the user as part of the multi-action execution, the user can also select the All Members selection as well. This is Derek from Product Management. With this enhancement, we have improved the member selector to make it easier to create new members. Looking at the model, we see where the new members will be added. For the product dimension, we see descriptions and attributes. We can set values to mandatory as needed. When we open the story, we can add a new member from the table. If the member is not recognized, we will have the option to create a new member, which opens the new member grid. We can enter single or multiple members to the grid. And can copy values and choose the display as needed. If we would like to make some additional changes to the new members, we can edit these values as well.
With the newest version management API enhancements, we made it possible to get the version information from the Planning Model API. This API does work similar as the table.getPlanning API, with the difference that we now no longer need a table to receive a version. This can be achieved by the Planning Model script object and enhances the scripting experience of a story designer. As you can see in the example, the API gives multiple options to work with versions. Not only receiving names or IDs, it is possible to start the edit mode of a version or to publish data changes. Furthermore, the new versions can be created with this as well, by copying existing ones, with or without data. In this example, we can see that the story designer is requesting the version name of the actual version and is prompting it to the console. After that, the designer is creating a new version via the copy functionality. The overall enhancement gives the developers more flexibility in working with versions. It enhances the performance in steps where multiple models are maintained in one story, or in cases where a table is now needed in the view time. This new version will be visible in the version management panel or could be added to a table in view time. Hello, this is Lucas from Product Management. With the exposure of the undo and redo APIs of the version history, we did the next step in exporting all UI functionalities to the scripting as well. Story designers now have the flexibility to add scripting for the undo or redo mechanism. As you can see in this example, it is possible to reach the undo or redo API via the planning model script object or via the table script object. This takes effect for both new APIs. In this scenario, we created two buttons to make the undo or redo mechanism more prominent to the end user. Each button gets its own coding snippet. In the entry mode, you can see entry changes in the version history. Now these steps can be done undo or redo.
My name is Jeanne Bigonnet, Product Manager. I will present you the latest feature for the QRC3 release for the Microsoft Office integration for the Excel part. First, we have delivered a new designer pane, which will support best the creation of reports. So now with this new designer pane, you can search for a dimension. You can also directly display the ID or description of dimensions, and you can easily use drag and drop to select which dimension or measure you have to add in your report. Let's see a demonstration of this new feature. To see the new builder pane and to use it, you just have to select it, the existing one, and extend it. And from here, you have this new experience where you can directly see the measure and dimension which are part of your report. And from here, you have different capabilities. First of all, I can also change what I want to see, if I want to see all the ID of my measure and dimension. Also, I can search easily for one of them. So if I search for country, as example, in my example, I'm directly pointed to the one containing country. Also, I can easily use the drag and drop to add a dimension or a measure. If we add, as example, the location directly here in the row, you will see directly on my report. And of course, we keep this feature of pausing the refresh if I want first to create my complete report and after to reflect it in my the sheet beside. So these are also capabilities that you can find using the three dots to create your report. And the next step would be to enhance this three-dot menu, adding the capability to rename, measure, or dimension directly from here. But this will come with next release. Next really important feature, which is part of the QRC3 delivery in Excel, is the support of data point comment. So with this new feature, it's possible to retrieve the comments created in SAP Analytics Cloud stories for the stories based on SAP Analytics Cloud model. And also it's possible to add, edit comments at cell level directly from Excel. Let's see now how it works directly in the product. So here we find a new menu named comment because we have activated the option at the table level, data point commenting. And with this new menu, I can retrieve at cell level any comment posted or that in the SAP story or directly in Excel. So here you see directly the comment existing already. I can add a new comment. Of course, I have different capabilities directly at the comment level, and I can add it at the cell level. This is reflected, of course, in SAP Analytics Cloud. So if I now open SAP Analytics Cloud, So in the story, we can refresh the story and retrieve all the comments posted. And here you see the last comment that I have entered with all the comments existing at the cell level. So this exists in Excel and in the web as well for SAP Analytics Cloud models. Lastly, I want to introduce a really important feature, which is the jump from story. So initially, the workflow was to start in Excel, connect to SAP Analytics Cloud tenant, and start to work with a different source. It could be an acquired model or live sources. But now it's exactly the same type of sources that you can access to, but the workflow can start, if you wish, in the story at the table level. So you have to activate an option, which is allow Excel add-in, and then you can directly work in Excel. But let's have a look directly in the product. From the web, in a story, directly in the table, you can jump to the add-in for Excel. So the goal here, of course, is to keep the filters created with the table in the web as all the calculated measure and the restricted measure contained into the story. And the story also, if it's containing variables, this will be also reflected directly in the Excel part. But to be able to do so, first in the story, you need to check an option, enable Excel add-in, and then directly you can open your report. And this is launching and downloading an Excel. Here you need first, of course, to connect as a user to be recognized with all the user rights apply on the data. And as soon as you have refreshed and signed in, the report is displayed in Excel. So you see already the calculated and the restricted measure, which are displayed as all the features defined in the web, which are already visible in Excel. Similarly for the variable defined in the web. You can do planning directly from this report. Of course, you could also change the axis of the report to do your analysis. Here we do planning, and then when we are back in the story and when we refresh, you will see the entry, of course, done in Excel directly in your story. As an extension of the data point comment, it's also possible using a custom formula, SAP get data comment, to retrieve the last posted comment. So if you enter this formula directly in the Microsoft Excel sheet, you can directly retrieve, as a result of the formula, the last comment posted. With the new data point comment feature delivered in this QRC, it's possible to enter a comment at cell level, but it's also possible to retrieve the last entered comment using a get data formula. So we have a new SAP get data formula where you can enter as a parameter the tuple where the comment has been posted. And then as a result, you retrieve directly in the grid the information of the last posted comment. So depending on the parameter of the formula, or you retrieve only the comment itself, or if you enter a specific parameter in the formula, you can retrieve the number as well, which contain the comment. So let's enter a new comment. As you can see, it's automatically reflected on the comment cells as well. Lastly, we have introduced now the capability in the Workbook tab to display the properties of the source contained in the workbook. So it can be a live source or acquired data. But let's have a look in the product. If we go to the workbook level, we can directly retrieve this new tab recently added. But what I want to highlight here is this, with these three dots here, now we have the show property by table. And in my first case, the table 1 point to SAC model. But if I go to table 2, I can see it's a BW connection with all this information of also the query, which is displayed in Excel. Of course, as you know, we can also display it differently. We can display it by data source, and the capability, it's now at the property level like that, directly beside the data source itself.
Hello, this is a demo for the new generative AI feature called AI-Assisted Chart Summary, which is now available in the SAP Analytics Cloud add-in for Microsoft PowerPoint. This presentation showcases the quarterly results of the best run bikes company and includes widgets from my SAP Analytics Cloud stories. Within this slide deck, I will include a sales forecasting information. This chart information may be a bit difficult to summarize. I will generate an automatic summary. To accomplish this, all I need to do is click on the new Generate Summary button. The chart information is sent to the Just Ask Generative AI Hub, which will generate this 3-bullet summary. I can see now which products are performing well or not, but also the global performance trends across all categories. I am now able to edit this comment as it is a text element, allowing me to make use of all the features available in PowerPoint. This enables me to generate an initial version of a chart summary, which I can easily modify to convey a more personalized message. All the charts as well as the summaries can now be refreshed at any time upon request to reflect any changes in the underlying data. Thanks for your attention.
Welcome to the demonstration of blending for a table with support of sort and rank for SAP Analytics Cloud. Support for a blended table in the optimized mode is available for SAP HANA, SAP Business Warehouse, and acquired data, with the exclusion of SAP DataSphere. To use the blended table in the optimized experience, you have to opt in for the new table experience. We have feature parity with the classic experience. Same limitations applied in the optimized experience compared to the classic one. And we do not support the migration of a blended table from the classic mode. In optimized story, blended table also has enhanced features like the support for undo and redo, sort and rank. Firstly, the build panel is redesigned to align with chart for better user experience during creation. All kinds of sorting are supported. User can also sort on version dimension in blended table, sort on one specific version member or toggle off, restrict sorting on version. Rank is also supported on blended table with new options. Finally, we support for both enterprise and embedded OEM data from SAP Analytics Cloud. Now let's dive directly into the product. We will start by adding a new table into the story and giving it a correct size. Then we add a linked model. Users have the ability to edit the linked model to modify, or to better understand the dimensions used into the link. They can also change the link type to let the table return intersecting data only. This is the option we're using for this demo. Now we can start to add dimensions and measures. Linked dimension must to be used. It can be measure, dimension or filter. Here we add a linked dimension from primary model. Then we add at least 4 measures, 2 from the primary model and 2 from the linked model. Now, as you can see, data are loaded into the blended table. From there, we can now create blend calculation, threshold on the blend calculation. We can also apply client calculation like cumulative sum, or apply in cell chart on measure. For now, one customized blend table is created. Let's dive now into sorting. This is one blend table with version dimension. We select one data cell and open the value sorting dialog box from the contextual menu. We can now change sorting sequence, restrict the sorting on one specific version member and apply. It will sort on piece of data of actual version here. Sort token is added to table subtitle and user can use it to open or delete existing settings. If we do it again by toggle off the restrict sorting on version, it will apply sort on each version member. Definitely, user can check break grouping to sort as well. Now let's move on to restrict sorting on rows or columns. It applies to cross-table when dimensions exist in both rows and columns. In this first example, the sort is applied by column, on the account income for the dimension color, and its member blue. As you can see, in blended table, model information is displayed to tell user which model dimension is from, to ease the sort on rows or columns based on selected measures or calculations. If we repeat the same workflow, we can now apply a sort by rows, and precise the dimensions to use. For this second example, it will be the dimension category, actual, and the location, North America. Now let's move on to the last part of the demo, rank in blended table. If we select one data cell and open the rank dialog box from the contextual menu, we can apply rank on dimension with the new 3 different options. Rank all dimensions individually, or each dimension separately. In our demo, we'll apply a top 2 on all dimensions individually. This is the end of the demo. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the demonstration of the new Table Builder experience for SAP Analytics Cloud. To benefit from it, you must switch to the new Table Builder experience by selecting Switch All Tables to New Build Experience, Opt-in, at the bottom of the Build panel and follow the options. Once activated, the Table Builder experience is aligned with Charts Builder panel. The objective was to provide consistency in the creation workflow, but also to bring multiple usability improvements as well as enhancements. For example, we have empty ghost state when adding a new table, except for BW models. A new builder interface and available list of objects like for the chart widgets. Enhanced support for structured dimensions through dedicated feeds. Separate field for arrange parent node and totals, on rows and columns. Add-on section with menu for linked analysis, threshold, hyperlink and in-cell chart for easier and quick access. And finally a better error handling directly into the builder. Now let's dive directly into the product. Firstly, to use the new Table Builder experience, you have to opt in by using the Switch All Tables to New Build experience, at the bottom of the Builder panel of a table, in the optimized mode. You will be prompted with several options and warnings. Once activated and the story saved, we can start to add a new table into the canvas. Like previously shared, the table is empty now by default except for BW models. You can also find a confirmation you're using the new Builder table experience by looking at the bottom of the Builder panel. We can now start to use the new Builder panel. We can add dimensions and measures on the axis with the same experience than the charts. Let's add gross margin and quantity sold on the columns axis. And let's add product on the rows axis. Furthermore, I can now open the Available Objects panel. Account, measure feeds are available for selection, same thing for the dimensions. I can use the option Add to Accounts for the accounts whatever the axis used is, or Add Dimension to Rows or Columns for the dimensions. Another simple option is to use the drag and drop directly on the axis. We have separate settings for Arrange Totals and Arrange Parent Nodes for both rows and columns axis. The Table Add-ons section provides quick access to linked analysis, thresholds, hyperlinks, and in-cell charts. Note that linked analysis has been improved to match chart functionality. Transient filters can now be removed from receivers. Lastly, we have a better error handling in the panel in case of wrong calculation input control, cyclic dependency via dimensions or calculations, missing calculation or version filter like in this example. This is the end of the demo. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the demonstration of the new Client Calculation panel for SAP Analytics Cloud. To benefit from it, you need to switch to the new Table Build experience by selecting Switch All Tables to New Build Experience, Opt-in, at the bottom of the Build panel in the optimized mode. Client Calculations feature and New Build experience are unchanged, they are exactly the same. We've introduced several usability improvements to make your experience smoother and more intuitive. A calculation indicator now appears next to the object token for easy identification. A dedicated and new calculation panel helps you manage and view calculations in one place. The name of each calculation is now clearly displayed for better clarity. You can now view the full formula directly within the interface. And number formats can be edited directly in the calculation panel. You can jump directly to the cell defined as a formula with a single click. These enhancements are designed to keep your workflow fast, clear, and efficient, all while keeping the core behavior you already know. Now let's dive directly into the product. The current table already contains 2 client calculations. The first client calculation computes the difference in gross margin between the years 2015 and 2016. The second one performs the same operation but expresses the result as a percentage. In the Table Builder panel, you'll notice a new indicator next to the year dimension. 2 calculations involving this dimension exist. Clicking on this indicator opens the new Client Calculations panel. From here you can view the details of each calculation, including its name and formula. Delete a client calculation. Edit a client calculation by jumping directly to the related table cell. You can also adjust the formatting applied to the client calculation. In our example, we've applied a percentage format to the second client calculation. This is the end of the demo. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the demonstration of the new member selector for SAP Analytics Cloud. To benefit from it, you need to switch to the new table build experience by selecting Switch All Tables to New Build Experience, Opt-in, at the bottom of the build panel. Table filters consume a new member selector component, triggered from Dimension, Accounts and Measures Filter Token. This enhanced experience for defining dimension member filters brings a lot of usability improvements. A search bar and hierarchy selection conveniently located at the top. Visual selection indicators on the left side. Flexible exclusion options to tailor your selections. A dedicated settings panel that opens on demand for advanced configurations. Seamless, continuous scrolling for lengthy lists, ensuring you can find what you need without hassle. A resizable user interface for a personalized experience. Additionally, when working with measure and account dimensions, you'll find 2 distinct tab sections, the Account or Measure tab and the Input Control tab. Now let's dive directly into the product. In the right panel while in edit mode, I can create a new dimension filter by member, using the new member selector. Notice the search feature at the top, alongside the hierarchy selector for easy navigation. With just one click I can exclude values. And on the right, there's a clear visual summary of my selections. The Settings panel is available upon request, allowing for advanced settings like booked members or ID displays, as well as specific filter configurations. The user interface is designed to be flexible and resizable, adapting to your needs. The new member selector is also applicable for selecting accounts or measures, featuring additional tabs to cover all selection possibilities. A dedicated tab for the account list, and a tab for related input controls. This new member selector really enhances the selection process for measures as well. This is the end of the demo. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the demonstration of the option to turn on and off the thresholds tooltip for SAP Analytics Cloud. To benefit from it, you need to switch to the new table build experience by selecting Switch All Tables to New Build Experience, Opt-in, at the bottom of the build panel. Once activated, you can use this new option to toggle the thresholds tooltip on each table widget. This new option has the following characteristics. It is being reintroduced for the table widget in the optimized experience. A new default minimalist tooltip is provided for the table widget, similar to what already exists for charts. An option is available for the table designer to turn on or off the thresholds tooltip details. A second option is available for both table viewers and designers to show or hide all tooltips. Now let's dive directly into the product. We can finally display the threshold tooltip in the optimized experience. It is available at view time and design time. If we edit this table widget in the Builder panel, we can access the details of the thresholds next to the account, measure where this option activated. We can access Show Threshold Details and Show Tooltip Details. If we uncheck this last one, we can compare it to a normal threshold tooltip. This is a normal threshold tooltip. This is a minimalist threshold tooltip. Lastly, if we want to hide all the threshold tooltips, we can access the Threshold Tooltip option in the widget menu under Show, Hide, and uncheck it. This option is available for each table, both at design time and at view time. This is the end of the demo. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the demonstration on the new Sort and Rank Enhancements for SAP Analytics Cloud. To benefit from it, you need to switch to the new table build experience by selecting Switch All Tables to New Build Experience, Opt-in, at the bottom of the build panel in the optimized mode. In the new table experience, both the sort and rank capabilities have been enhanced in several key ways. New, value sorting, dialog box. You can now pick values for sorting regardless of the selection context. Sorting can be applied by columns or rows, depending on your preference. The option break grouping replaces the previous keep left column grouped for absolute sorting behavior. You can also restrict sorting to a specific version and measure for more precise control. Rank replaces top N. Ranking can now be applied using any criteria, regardless of the selection context. You can rank across all dimensions, rank each dimension individually, or rank them one by one. Please note, some limitations still apply when working with SAP BW and HANA Live connections. Now let's dive directly into the product. We select one data cell and open the value sorting dialog box from the contextual menu. We can now change the sorting sequence, restrict the sorting to a specific version member and apply the changes. In this first example, the sort will be applied only to the plan version for the account, all cash flow. As you can see, the restrict sorting is applied only to the version plan, and not to actual. A sort token is added to the table subtitle, and users can use it to open or delete existing sort settings. If we repeat the action and toggle off the restrict sorting on version option, the sort will now be applied to each individual version member. Users can also use the option break grouping to sort data. It replaces the former keep left column grouped option. This option performs an absolute sort, regardless of the other dimensions on the rows axis. Please note, some limitations still apply when working with SAP BW and HANA Live connections. Now let's move on to restrict sorting on rows or columns. It applies to cross-table when dimensions exist in both rows and columns. In this second example, the sort is applied by column, on the account quantity sold for the dimension location, and its member California. If we repeat the same workflow, we can now apply a sort by rows and precise the dimensions to use. For this third example, we select the account gross margin, and for the row selection, it will be the dimension product carbonated drinks, and the sales manager Lois Wood. Now let's move on to the last part of the demo, rank in table. Rank replaces top N. Ranking can now be applied using any criteria, regardless of the selection context. You can rank across all dimensions, rank all dimensions individually, or rank them one by one. In this example, we'll use the all dimensions individually sorting option to display the top 3 products by gross margin. Now, let's use the option each dimension separately. We'll add a top 3 ranking for the product dimension. And we also want to display the best performing year alongside the top ranked product. This is the end of the demo. Thank you for watching.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Q3 QRC video. Here we will be looking at some of the innovations that we have done as part of the story design. To start with, we have now the option to set the group category divider line color and thickness. Now the option to control the color and thickness of the group category divider is for all the charts, including tree maps, nested group boundary. The thickness is supported for all charts except for tree map. The next innovation item that we would like to discuss is about the access line. Now the users have the option to set the thickness and the color of the access line. The options that users have is medium, thin, and thick. The users also have the option. Users will find this option under the styling panel of a chart. We will see it in the demo. The next innovation that we have presented is um, displaying the access titles. By default, the access titles are switched off, but users have an option to show or hide an y-axis title and x-axis title using the quick action menu. Users have additional formatting options like font style, color, and size of the axis title. The y-axis placement can be set middle or above. Y-axis direction can be set horizontal or rotated by 270 degrees. And at the same time, the users can also set the x-axis placement to be whether left, middle, or right. By default, it is middle. In the next demo, we'll be looking at how the users can set the group category divider line. Uh, Here, users have an option under the styling panel to set the thickness for the group category lines. So by default, it is thin, but users have the option to set it to medium or thick. Again, users also have the option to set the line color, the color of the preference. Hi, welcome to the demo. Now in this demo, we will be looking at some of the major improvements that we have done as part of the visualization for Q3 QRC. We'll be combining a few of the demos here. So one is the ability to control the axis line thickness and the color. So um, under the styling panel for a chart, the users now have the ability to control the line thickness. Uh, they can set it as thin, medium, or thick. By default, it is thick, and they can also set the line color. Along with the axis line, now we also have an option to show the axis titles. By default, the access titles are hidden, but the access titles can be shown from the show or hide context menu. So under the more options, you have an option to show the axis title for x-axis and y-axis. Users have an additional option to set the direction for y-axis title, whether it has to be horizontal or rotated by 270 degree, depending on the use case. Users also have the option to set the title y-axis title alignment, and at the same time, users have the option to set the x-axis title alignment, whether it is left, middle, or center. As part of the formatting options in chart, we now support showing the increase and the decrease sign in the form of arrows. This option is available under number format option in the styling panel, where users can choose arrows for in the show sign as. Additionally, users can also set the position of the arrows, whether they want it to be in the left of the value or right of the value. This option is also available under the variance settings, where users can choose arrows for show variance sign as options. And additionally, users can also decide on the arrow placement, whether it has to be on the left or right. By default, it is on the left. Now let's look at the next demo of supporting increase or decrease sign. So as part of the styling options for a chart, under number format, users have an option to set arrows to display increase or decrease sign. This option is available in show sign as setting for number format. Additionally, as part of variance, users can set arrows in show variance sign as option, and this will be displayed in your chart. When you're setting the show sign as arrows, the users also have the option to set the arrow position, whether it is left, right, or default. Default is left value. Default is left of the value. Similarly, in the styling panel, under number format as well, the users have the option to set the arrow position, whether it is left of value or right of value. We'll be clubbing some of these demos into one demo to make sure that to ensure the flow is seamless. So we'll be clubbing these three demos into one. Last but not the least, one of the major features that we have released is providing detailed breakdown of in when applying rank with others on the outer dimension. There are some exclusions to this, specifically for SAP Business Warehouse connection and non-SAP data sources, data analyzer, and hierarchical dimension and complex measures. We'll look into it in a greater detail in the demo. Last but not the least, let's look at the demo for rank with others. So in rank with others, here I have a chart which shows headcount per department by education degree. Now let's say I want to see the top 3 departments. Um, what I can do is I can set the ranking and set the rank with others. Now under the top N options, I can choose to show details for group for the others, and this will give me the details for uh, the departments which are clubbed under the other section and what is the headcount at a education degree level.
Hello everyone, my name is Jie. I am Product Manager for SAP Analytics Cloud. Here I would like to introduce the new features we are delivering in the category of story extensibility with the QRC3 release. First feature is the support for widget margins. With the QRC3 releases and for different widgets in the styling panel, you will be able to find an option to define margins. So here you can define this left, top, right, and bottom margin with different pixel value. And we are supporting this margin definition for different widgets like chart, table, geomap, composite, and input control button, shape images, and also different containers. With this support of the margin, you will be able to more precise to define the widget positioning and sizing. Therefore, you can reduce different panels and to simplify the layout of your stories and improve your design efficiency. For the widgets I did not mention here, the support of the widget margins will follow in the upcoming releases. The next feature is that copy and paste support for widgets based on SAP DataSphere analytical model. So if you have stories, widgets that are based on SAP DataSphere analytical model, like this page and different charts, different tables, with QRC3 release, you will be able to copy these widgets or copy the entire pages across for different stories and also for different browser tabs. And we will support you to importing pages based on SAP DataSphere analytical model and to do your presentation mode implementation. And because the importing follows the same technology of the copy and paste. And with that, we will enable you to much easier to create your stories through the copy and paste support for the widgets based on the SAP DataSphere analytical model. And we also providing you a capability that you will be able to have the script access for composite properties. So in the if you define a composite, a reusable building block within the composite design type, you are able to define different interfaces. So story designer will be use these interfaces to interface properties to customize the composite to match to the story context. For these interface properties like visibility, like hyperlink, and so on, now you can also have direct script access to these interface properties. And via that, you can do different calculations and with these interface properties within the composite. And also it's much easier for you to define the composite, and also easier for the story designer later on to consume the composite. Last but not least, and we have provide the improvements for the page size setting within the composite design time. And now you can, if you create a composite, and then within the composite you have a page, you can select on the page and define the different width and also the height. And the width and the height could be adjusted from, for example, width from the 128 pixel to the 7680 pixel, and the height you can start from very small one like 32 pixel also to 7680 pixel. So with that also improve the flexibility of the composite itself. That composite can, as a reusable building block, can be leveraged for different scenarios. Now I would like to switch to my demo to show you different features with a live demo. So first, let's start with a widget margin support. So here you see actually my very simple example, right? I'm using actually now currently is no margin is used. So for no margin is used, actually you can see here I'm using different panels. So actually here is you can see a panel. Within a panel, I also define a flow layout panel again. From the layout panel, I defined further panel, and then within this panel, you see that's a panel. Within panel, I'm defining a chart. Why do I have the different layer of the panel? That actually that's this between the widget can have the spaces, and also if you have defined a background colors and so on, I can make basically this area much more nicer using different panel. Now I'm going to introducing these margins. So let's have a look into under these margins. So first I'm equivalent. I'm doing actually want to demonstrate actually I'm using a flow layout panel. Within this flow layout panel, I actually only have different widgets, these 5 widgets, right? Here I do not leverage any panel or margins. And it does not look good because there's no spaces between different charts, and also no spaces for actually this gross margin, this area. So now I'm going to adjust it and using this widget margin capability. So what I'm going to do is first I would like to going to the flow layout panel. If we select the flow layout panel, and we see actually this margin area. So I'm going to define actually this 16, here also 16, and here should be the 8 and also the 8. Okay, so I'm choosing that. You can see already from the flow layout panel, I'm already actually using these capabilities to make some spaces between here and bottom, and also left and right. So using the margin capability here, I don't need to define the pen like another panel like before. And now I'm using the margin capability to achieve that between different widgets, I can have some spaces to look like above. So now I'm going to define actually multiple select this charting area. You can see I'm select multiple, actually all these 5 charts, and then go to this margin setting in the styling area. So I would like to, for example, the left should be 24, top should be 16, right should be 8, and bottom should be 16. Okay, so basically I have also added all this margin setting for all these 5 charts at once. So what you can see is exactly I am achieving exactly the same look and feel like before, right? Use margin, and here is without margin. You can see also in the outline, if I'm using margin, it's very clearly I have a flow layout panel under the 5 charts. If there's no margin used, you can see I'm really using a lot of panel to panel actually to achieve this look and feel. So with that, you can see user margin, and you don't need to have a lot of panels to achieve basically a nice look and feel. And also your story has less widgets, and also will actually help you to much easily to create a visual attractive dashboard by leverage its margin capability. Okay, so that is the margin capability. I want to demonstrate that to you. And the second capability that we already mentioned is in the copy and also the paste capability. So now let's have here just create a new story. So for example, a Canvas story, right? And I would like to leverage basically here the presentation capability. So what I can do is that I can actually importing story pages. And which page I want to import? I want to actually import this page. And with this actually based on the DataSphere analytical model, the page of the details. So now let's have a look into that. Go to our new story, and let's click on the importing pages, and let's select it. And actually I have a called DWC. I have a page called DWC model. So let's select this one. Okay, and then it's actually this page, this story. Okay, have overview page, detail page, and also the page one. So I'm selecting the detail page, click on the import. So its import is currently happening. That's exactly the pages what I have shown you before has been imported here. And this page is exactly this based on the DataSphere analytic model. If we look at this chart, we can have a look into actually that's based on the DataSphere analytic model, and I can copy and paste and to the actually I can importing the entire page like you have already seen here. Or I can also say using copy and paste capability to say I would like to copy and to a new story, and I'm just using here the paste capability. And then you will be able to see that a new chart is copy pasted basically to this canvas. Okay, so that is the capability of the copy paste workflow. We support that based on the SAP DataSphere analytical model. And the third capability, I would like to show you that the composite interface properties that are supported now with the script access. So you can have a look into my actually header. That's a header, composite header I have defined here. And you can see the composite header are basically have these different interface properties. So here, if I select on these interface properties, and if you want that you have the direct script access to this interface property, and you only need to make this checkbox. If you check that, means actually in the scripting, you can leverage this interface property. So let's have a look into, for example, actually where I actually used this mail to hyperlink and as interface property in my scripting. So you can see in the text actually in above here, and we can see that I have already using this mail to hyperlink, using that's actually my interface property. And once I check that, I can using in my scripting. So in the scripting, basically here, and in the text for the mail to this icon, if I click on that, what happens is that I'm actually compose actually in the mail a text, and also this using this mail to hyperlink basically, and to whom this mail should be sent, and also with basically a story name and also the issue description. So here you can see we can leverage the interface property in the entire scriptings within the composite. So we provide you these capabilities that you can to do some logics and for this interface property also already in the composite design time. So what is the advantage? The advantage is that if you are leverage this interface properties actually in your story design time. Now let's go to the story design time. Here. And we can see if here is basically the composite header I'm leveraged, right? You can go to the outline and we can see, and that's a composite header. With a composite header, if I click on the right click, and I can see that's actually the different properties I can configure. So with a mail to hyperlink, because I can configure these values, right? And I can write my email address base means if I want to send an email and that is a receiver. So now if we go to actually the runtime basically of his this composite, if I click on this mail to hyperlink, you will be able to see that if I click on here and then it's a mail to pop up under that's this you will be able to see this mail to, and to see that my name is basically already predefined here. That's exactly the interface property mail to, and also within the scripting what I have shown you before, and also the basic description and also the subject is already configured. So that is this script access for the interface property. And last but not least, we also have seen this composite, basically the page size and improvement. So if you now go to the composite design time, if you click on the page on the right side, and you will be able to configure it. And we can see also to do some custom width and height. For example, I can width and should it be 182 and it should be here the 32. So you can basically define actually any values what you would think that makes sense. For example, I would like to set to that one 300 to 400, then it will be basically my header with this size. So here you are flexible to define the size of the page within your composite design time. That will enable you to create more different composite type. Okay, so that's the 4 new features I would like to introduce, and thanks a lot for listening. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully our demos have helped you leverage the latest features in SAP Analytics Cloud in your organization. Remember to leave a like on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all things Analytics Cloud. We have a lot of exciting new features coming your way in 2025, so stay tuned and we'll see you next time.